It began with a single, deafening sound that silenced a crowd. The shot that ended Charlie Kirk's life cut through laughter, applause, and the illusion of safety. In seconds, chaos erupted. People screamed, cameras dropped, and confusion rippled through the stunned audience. By the time sirens filled the air, one of America's most polarizing public figures was gone, and the nation demanded to know who pulled the trigger. Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind the story that changed everything, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Within hours of the tragedy, what should have been a moment of mourning turned into a full-scale manhunt. Streets were blocked, witnesses were detained, and an entire city found itself at the center of a media storm. The name Tyler Robinson emerged almost overnight. A quiet college student with no prior criminal record, Tyler was suddenly branded the suspect in one of the most shocking crimes of the year. The investigation moved at lightning speed. Detectives traced security footage, interviewed witnesses, and combed through digital logs to reconstruct the hours leading up to the shooting. The public followed every development in real time, each update breaking across social media before official channels could even confirm it. In less than 2 days, law enforcement claimed victory. They had their man, their motive, and their evidence. But as the headlines celebrated swift justice, cracks in the story began to show. The case against Tyler Robinson appeared, at first, unshakable. Ballistic tests confirmed that the gun recovered near the venue matched the shell casing found at the scene. Gunshot residue was detected on his jacket, and blurry footage showed someone resembling him walking near the building minutes before the gunshot rang out. Investigators pointed to this as definitive proof. For the media, it was enough to declare closure. But as reporters began to dig deeper, inconsistencies surfaced. Witnesses described seeing another figure near the same rooftop where Tyler was allegedly spotted. Others claimed the man's clothing didn't match what Tyler was wearing earlier that day. And yet, these details were quickly dismissed as confusion in the chaos. The official narrative hardened, painting Tyler as a radical loner driven by resentment, a convenient villain for a grieving nation desperate for answers. Behind the scenes, however, digital forensics told a more complicated story. Investigators combed through Tyler's devices and uncovered encrypted chats, hidden folders, and activity logs linking him to online groups that trafficked in extremist rhetoric. These spaces weren't unfamiliar to modern investigators. They were breeding grounds for anger and ideology. Messages recovered from Tyler's accounts hinted at frustration, alienation, and a fascination with political violence. Still, none directly mentioned Charlie Kirk. Authorities interpreted them as evidence of radical intent, yet some analysts argued they showed something else entirely: a young man lost in echo chambers designed to manipulate emotion. As more details came to light, one question began to loom large. Was Tyler Robinson a killer, or had someone used him as a pawn in a far more elaborate scheme? That question deepened when investigators analyzed the cell tower data around the shooting site. Multiple devices were found to have accessed the same encrypted channels tied to Tyler's accounts within minutes of each other. 2 logins occurred almost simultaneously, one from inside the venue and one from a location just outside, less than 50 meters away. The revelations stunned forensic analysts. It raised the possibility that someone else might have been active on Tyler's accounts, perhaps even in real time. Some called it a coincidence. Others saw it as proof that the digital trail wasn't as clear-cut as it appeared. The discovery ignited theories of a second suspect, a digital accomplice hiding in plain sight. Yet the official report dismissed these claims, stating there was no verified indication of coordinated involvement. For many, that statement only deepened suspicion. Cybersecurity experts soon entered the public debate, sounding alarms that echoed far beyond the courtroom. Their message was clear and unsettling. In today's world, digital evidence is not always what it seems. What once served as the foundation of truth in investigations, data logs, message histories, login records, could now be forged, cloned, or manipulated with frightening precision. The experts explained that modern technology has given rise to an entirely new form of deception, one that doesn't rely on masks or disguises, but on invisible digital fingerprints that can be created or altered with ease. They described how bad actors can now spoof identities, clone SIM cards, and even gain remote access to another person's account without detection. A single breached password or duplicated authentication token can make one person appear to be somewhere they've never been, saying things they've never said. It's a chilling reality where the line between truth and fabrication has thinned to near transparency. What makes this manipulation so insidious is how authentic it appears. Messages, emails, and encrypted chats can look legitimate, complete with accurate timestamps and device metadata, fooling even the most advanced verification systems. One expert put it starkly, "In the wrong hands, technology doesn't just record reality, it can recreate it." A senior analyst at a federal digital forensics division shared an analogy that quickly went viral. "The evidence suggests multiple fingerprints," he said, "but not necessarily multiple hands." His words captured the heart of the dilemma. In traditional forensics, a fingerprint is the ultimate identifier, an unchangeable mark of individuality. But in cyberspace, fingerprints can be copied, mimicked, or manufactured. An entire identity can be reconstructed from fragments of stolen data. The result is a landscape where even the clearest digital trail may not point to the person who left it. This revelation shook public confidence. For decades, people had come to trust that data was impartial, that numbers, timestamps, and codes were immune to bias or deceit. But the experts painted a different picture. They explained that artificial intelligence tools, deepfake technology, and automated scripts have made digital forgery disturbingly easy. With the right software, a skilled hacker can fabricate convincing message logs or simulate the behavior of another person's account. Even location data, once considered irrefutable, can be spoofed to suggest that a device was in one place when it was actually somewhere else. In essence, truth in the digital era has become negotiable. And once a narrative takes hold online, it can spread faster than any correction ever could. A single misleading clip, screenshot, or post can ignite outrage within minutes, shaping opinions long before facts can catch up. By the time the truth emerges, public judgment has already solidified. In Tyler Robinson's case, that reality became painfully evident. The moment his name hit the headlines, the internet decided who he was. Algorithms rewarded engagement over accuracy, amplifying the most dramatic interpretations of his story. To millions, he wasn't a suspect awaiting trial. He was the villain of a national tragedy. To understand how Tyler Robinson became the center of the storm, investigators began piecing together the quieter, more private story of his life. Tyler was not the kind of person anyone expected to see in handcuffs. Friends and classmates described him as polite, intelligent, and withdrawn. He wasn't confrontational or political. Most remembered him as the kind of person who faded into the background, present but never central. Yet behind closed doors, a different version of Tyler was taking shape. He spent countless hours online, drifting through anonymous chat rooms and discussion boards. These weren't inherently dangerous spaces at first, places where people vented frustrations or shared unpopular opinions, but slowly the tone shifted. Tyler's search history revealed a growing fascination with content that thrived on division and resentment. He found communities that validated his anger and gave it a sense of purpose. In these digital echo chambers, outrage wasn't discouraged, it was rewarded. The more extreme the statement, the more attention it drew. Over time, those reactions became addictive. Tyler's online identity began to diverge from his real one. While the world saw a quiet student, the digital version of him was emboldened, unfiltered, and increasingly drawn to conspiratorial thinking. The forums he joined didn't just share ideas, they weaponized them. They offered belonging through shared hostility, convincing users that their struggles were not personal but political, that they were victims of an unjust system. For someone already feeling isolated, that message can be intoxicating. What began as passive scrolling soon turned into immersion. Algorithms fed Tyler more of what he engaged with, more outrage, more fear, more content that painted the world as an enemy. Each new post reinforced the idea that conflict was inevitable and that truth was whatever one's group believed it to be. By the time the tragedy unfolded, Tyler's understanding of reality was no longer shaped by the people around him, but by the screens in front of him. When Tyler appeared in court for the first time, his silence spoke volumes. He didn't protest or break down. He simply stared ahead, his expression blank. Prosecutors portrayed that calm as proof of cold calculation, a young man radicalized by ideology, unremorseful and detached. But the defense offered a radically different interpretation. They claimed Tyler had been manipulated by someone online, someone who understood how to exploit his emotional fragility. Messages retrieved from his encrypted chats suggested a troubling dynamic. An unidentified user had been communicating with him in the weeks before the shooting. The tone of these messages was persuasive, even commanding, as if guiding him toward a specific course of action. Some of the digital evidence pointed to patterns consistent with psychological grooming, a gradual erosion of critical thinking replaced by dependency and obedience. But what investigators couldn't determine was who this mysterious contact truly was. Was it a real person? A coordinated group? Or was Tyler unknowingly communicating with an automated persona designed to influence him? Cyber analysts noted that modern influence operations can use artificial intelligence to mimic human interaction, tailoring responses based on emotional cues. Such systems can identify insecurities, reinforce biases, and push users toward extreme behaviors without their realizing it. If that was the case here, Tyler may not have been corresponding with a person at all, but with a machine built to manipulate. The idea was terrifying and plausible. As the case unfolded, the conversation expanded beyond guilt or innocence. It became a referendum on the digital age itself. The tragedy had exposed a dangerous intersection between technology, psychology, and accountability. Communities fractured under the weight of conflicting narratives. On social media, compassion gave way to hostility. Hashtags divided the public into camps, those demanding punishment and those demanding truth. Every new revelation, whether verified or speculative, reignited arguments that seemed to have no end. For the families involved, the pain was indescribable. Charlie Kirk's supporters mourned the loss of a voice they admired, while Tyler's parents faced the unbearable reality of watching their son be vilified by millions. Their grief, too, became public property, scrutinized, debated, and repurposed for clicks. It was as if empathy had been replaced by entertainment. Months passed, and still, the questions multiplied. Each time investigators released new findings, they seemed to raise as much doubt as clarity. Conflicting timestamps, mysterious digital signatures, and overlapping online activity blurred the lines further. Was Tyler Robinson the architect of a calculated act of violence, or had he been framed through digital manipulation so precise that it fooled everyone? For cybersecurity experts, the case became a textbook example of how fragile digital truth has become. They warned that as technology advances, so too does the capacity for deception. In the future, they said, crimes might be solved or fabricated entirely through data that can't be distinguished from the real thing. This isn't just speculation. Already, deepfake videos, falsified audio clips, and synthetic media have been used to deceive millions. It's not hard to imagine a world where evidence itself is indistinguishable from fiction. And that's what makes the Tyler Robinson case so haunting. It isn't only about who fired the gun or who planned the act. It's about who controls the story. When algorithms dictate visibility and engagement decides credibility, truth becomes just another variable to be optimized. What this case exposes is the cost of that evolution, a society that can no longer tell the difference between evidence and illusion. As the investigation continues, one question echoes louder than all others. When truth can be edited, who decides what's real? The fight for justice in Tyler Robinson's case is no longer confined to the courtroom. It's unfolding across every screen, every feed, every conversation about what we choose to believe. The outcome may determine more than one man's fate. It may redefine how we understand guilt, innocence, and the very meaning of evidence in a digital world. Because in this new reality, facts aren't always facts, and proof can be programmed. The search for justice now demands more than forensics. It requires wisdom, restraint, and courage to question even the most convincing stories. And perhaps most of all, it demands that we, as a society, slow down before deciding what's true. If you've made it this far and want to follow how this story unfolds, make sure you subscribe for future updates.